Welcome back, everybody and anybody, to another video. So, we're out the gate. I've tried to get this out a little bit sooner, maybe a little bit closer to when actually the finale came out. Maybe. However, I watched it and I attempted to make a little video of like my thoughts on it and all that, and just I wasn't vibing with it. So I was like, great idea. I wanted to rewatch through the whole series to kind of like fully kind of get my thoughts all in order and stuff to like truly kind of figure out how I feel about the finale and stuff, and did that. So now I'm gonna make these videos on my thoughts on the whole series as a whole. Originally, it was going to be a big one big video, but it would be too long if it was, at least originally. So, breaking this up into parts, and I'll say my thoughts on the finale and like the final season as a whole, like for when we get to season 5. But just a little bit. I think it sucked. I think it sucked. I think it kind of betrayed the rest of the show, like what came before it, in my opinion. And which sucks, because I grew up watching, what was it, like 9-10 years? I think it was 9 years, almost 10. That has been running. So I was 23, so I was about 13, 12 when it started. So grew up on it. I even remember my best bud is the one that introduced me and like watched the most of season 1. I think in one sitting at his house, like when it dropped, like after it dropped a little bit, because he watched it before and he's like, "You're gonna like this," blah, 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 and did that. So it sucks that I really think the finale is not as good, but I'll say we'll get more of that when we get into season 5. I want to go through the previous season, give my opinions and thoughts on that, and break it down. So, starting of course with season 1. If only could I make a deal with God and get him to swap our places. Be running up that road, be running up that hill, be running up that building. Say if I only could. Ooh. Did you enjoy my cover of Running Up That Hill? I hope so. So, season 1 and the series as a whole starts with the disappearance of Will Byers. Before anybody says anything, technically the show started with a scientist dying, but for the actual story, it starts with Will going missing. Our main group of boys, Mike, Dustin, Lucas, and Will, are playing Dungeons and Dragons, and they are currently fighting a Demogorgon. Will is their only hope, and he decides to cast Fireball. However, like anybody who's played D&D before her, the dice falls on the ground. This especially happens when it's an important role, like it is in the show. During the look for the dice, Mike's mother, Karen, tells him it's time for his friends to leave, and so they start packing up. Right before leaving, Will tells Mike that the roll was a 7, and the Demogorgon got him. Better man than me, because I would have said the fuck all about that. Dice hit the floor. That's a reroll. We also get introduced to Mike's sister, Nancy, who's pretty important, and we hear a mention of a character named Steve and how he's a douchebag. Now, we all know and love Steve, and even if you haven't watched Stranger Things, you've heard of Steve, I would imagine. Don't get me wrong, I like him, but we'll soon talk about him a little bit, and the very abrupt change in character that he has in this season. Anyways, the kids leave to go on their way home. On the way home, Mike's bike starts flickering and acting up and shit. And he very quickly runs into a shiny figure. He actually runs into it. He gets scared and he crashes his bike and runs into his empty house. He tries to call 911, but he sees his front door is magically unlocked and runs into his shed, where the only time we see Will in the entire series grab a fucking gun, which is kind of fair, because the one time he tried using said gun, he's immediately snatched. So, You know, it didn't work. So it'll be fair thing of don't pick up that gun. Besides, he's not fucking goddamn Nancy over there. Will's grabbed by something, and this is what we'll see of Will for now, for a pretty good bit. Nobody realizes that he's missing until the next morning when his brother and mother can't find him, and nobody else has seen him after 8 o'clock at night. Where's Will? I don't know. Just hope he's not with a pedophile. Will's mother, Joyce, goes straight to the police department and talks with the sheriff of town, Jim Hopper. Hopper is immediately wanting to contact Will's father, Lonnie, since, according to him, 99% of missing children are with the other parent. Makes sense. Also, really quick, fuck Lonnie. That's it. But Joyce is very adamant that Lonnie is not involved. Also, during this, the seeds of Will being gay is planted. They're like, oh, get called the F slur by fucking piece of shit Lonnie over there. Maybe he'll be here. I don't know where we're going to put him. Somewhere. We are introduced to Dr. Brenner. Him and a group of people are investigating a lab that has a giant hole in the wall, and this hole appears to be breathing. But that's stuff away, as we then see a kid in a hospital ground wandering through the forest. She comes across the diner and proceeds to steal food from it, to which she pretty quickly is seen and caught, which will soon mean a great man, and then we'll also soon lose said great man. We'll get there, but then we'll puck it. We see the main group of boys at school. They're wondering where Will is, and they are called to the office. There, they talk to Hopper, where they lay the route that Will takes to get home. They ask to participate in the search, but Hopper refuses. Back at the diner, the great man named Benny is making food for the girl and trying to get answers. This is where the girl identifies herself as 11 from a tattoo on her arm. Great man Benny quickly sees that she is an abuse victim and calls social services. While this happens, Hopper and the cops investigate the route they were given. This leads them to find his bike. Hopper goes to the buyer's house and ends up investigating a shed that Will was snatched from. He then orders a search party. Later at night, Mike sneaks out and joins up with Lucas and Dustin. They are going to also search for Will, as Mike makes the observation that Will decided to risk himself in the game rather than play it safe and cast a protection spell. During this, the search party is in progress and social services arrives at the diner. Benny is sadly killed. Rip Benny. Moment of silence. In the scuffle of the lab, people trying to get 11 back, she kills 2 of them, flees back into the woods. At the buyer's house, Joyce and Jonathan are having a conversation, with Jonathan blaming himself as he was working late on the day he went missing. Joyce gets a phone call where she hears Will breathing and then growling before the phone is fried by electricity. In the woods, the boys continue searching even in spite of the storm, though Dustin is trying to get them back, especially since they are where Will, went fucking missing. He disappeared during a storm. He has some survival instincts in him. It's pretty much the thing you should get from this. Is he was the one where he's like, maybe we should do this. We probably get our ass eaten. What? We probably get our ass eaten. What? We probably get our ass eaten. What? No. Probably get eaten. During their search, they come across 11 in the woods, and that is how episode 1 ends. It was a little long, but I at least wanted to fully break down the very first episode, since it, set this all up. Here on out, we'll pick up the speed a lot, and I'm going to go about this by focusing on different groups and covering large parts of what they are doing during this season, instead of going back and forth with scenes in each episode, since we will be here forever. So first, we'll start with our main group of kids. A lot of what they're doing this season is learning and trying to accept 11 into their group. They're still trying to find Will, but there's a big portion that is learning kind of how the group works, like Mike being the leader of the group, or how the group of kids aren't the most popular. They deal with 2 bullies this season. We learned that Lucas tries to be the more reasonable of the group most of the time, where Dustin is the more smart one of the group, and the crash out, which is amazing how quick this kid is to go from 0 to 100. Though all the kids of the group are smart, Dustin is just shown to be more of the smart one. That's kind of what he fits into. I think I said like a dumbass, but moving on. So this season is a lot of that on top of learning about 11. learning about her powers, where she comes from, and teaching her different stuff that a normal kid wouldn't know. Seeing some of her trauma from being raised at the lab. This naturally leads to some problems with the group. 11 is trying to help find Will, and she points him out and says he's hiding while playing the Demogorgon figurine by him. She tells the group that he is alive, however, a body that is identified as Will is found at Saddler's Quarry. And immediately, the whole group is mad at 11 and thinks she is lying, which they are kids, and they did just meet her, but I would put a little bit more trust in the girl with superpowers, at least until the time being, and she pretty much shows them that Will is alive by having them listen to him over a radio. Another fight breaks out in the group later on as they are trying to find the gate that will lead them to where Will is, but they've been going in a circle. Lucas then notices that 11's been using her powers to stop them from reaching the gate, which I guess my thing of having a little trust in the girl may have not been right. After all, I'm not a good judgment of character. That's the sentence. That's what we want. That's what we need. This leads to a fight between Mike and Lucas leaving the party right after. But these issues get resolved pretty quick, which, yeah, they're kids, so it makes sense that they'll resolve fairly quick, even they got issues. Even if their friend is currently missing. During the reconcile, 11 admits that she opened the gate, and on top of all that, they are also dealing with getting tracked and hunted by the government. While all that is happening, we are also following the older teenagers, Nancy and Jonathan, plus Steve. This group is similar to the group of kids as they are trying to, help find Will, and then more transitions into stopping the monster that is terrorizing the town. They, at the same time, are also dealing with teenage drama. Nancy, for especially the beginning part of the season, is dealing with dating the popular guy at school. I was a popular. I can't say it. And the strain that it puts on her friendship with Barbara. Jonathan is pretty much dealing with Will's disappearance, with putting up missing posters, and dealing with his father Lonnie, which again, fuck Lonnie. But he's also roped up in this drama after he has found out that he was taking some pictures of Nancy while she was at Steve's house, including Steve and his other friends included in the pictures, which is creepy, and it's a little understandable how Steve, acts during this moment. A little. He does take it a little too far, but right now he's still kind of the asshole-ish jock. This does change stuff, though, as Nancy finds out that he took a picture of Barbara right before she disappeared. So now you got them hanging out more, as they both have someone close to them that has gone missing. So they're bonding and becoming closer while still trying to figure out what's going on. They are also the ones dealing with the Demogorgon this season. Joyce technically deals with it first, but Nance and Jonathan are the ones who take it upon themselves to deal with the monster. They make a whole thing, a whole plan to take it down. There's a part where Nancy could have easily died when she ends up in the Upside Down with the monster, but she's able to get out before it gets to her, so she's safe. She is shaken up by it. This leads to Jonathan spending the night, where Steve sees him comforting her. Now, let's talk about Steve. Steve's portrayed as like the typical popular asshole jock type, kind of, because from the start he's not that bad. There's times where he tries to be more understanding, and even apologizing for not taking Barbara's disappearance the most serious. He is kind of a dick and kind of selfish at first, but he's a teenager. And there are points where he's more of a douchebag, like when he does go a little too far with Jonathan after seeing the creepy pictures that he took. But also, I think you can make a fair point on breaking a camera that a dude used to take pictures of you, your friends, and your girlfriend. You can make a point there. So it's a little muddy for that moment. The moment where he is an actual asshole is after he sees Jonathan and Nancy's place, him and his friends graffiti a movie theater with insults to Nancy. He even provokes Jonathan by talking about his family and comparing him to Lonnie, which, yeah, be his ass for that, comment. And that's where I think Steve is the actual asshole that he is, portrayed to be as. However, he immediately flips the next episode, calling his friends asshole and planning on apologizing to Nancy. So he turns really quick, which I think we all know about how he was originally meant to die and just be a dick, which apparently Lonnie was going to be the character that became good and get redemption, which thank God they didn't do that. That would have been such a bad decision. That would have been a decision made by the Duffer Brothers in Season 5, though. Now, on the flip side, well, let's look at Lonnie. He is an abusive, absent father who comes back and tries to use the death of his son to make money. And he has called that son, that to his knowledge is dead, the F-slur plenty of times before him and Joyce split. Now, when you look at Steve, he really is just a dumb teenager, who comes from a well-off family. And he's not the best boyfriend, and he does do the whole graffiti shit, but he immediately decides to go apologize to Nancy. And also goes clean off the shit that he graffiti. He also does end up buying Jonathan a new camera as well. So, thank God for Joe Carey, because damn if we ever got that Lonnie redemption. And like I said, Season 5 Duffers would have, though. Season 5 Duffers, they would. Don't you worry, we'll get there. I'm edging you right now. Get fucking edged. Back to the story. Our final group is a duo, Hopper and Joyce. They're the most focused on the disappearance of Will. Joyce is refusing the idea that her son is dead, even when they tried the whole decoy body trick. And Hopper is also continuing to search and find out what's happening with Will, since he knows how it is to lose a child. And I really like the bonding that happens between the two. I especially love Hopper parts in this season of him unraveling this web of lies and stuff from the government. Him putting himself in danger by not giving up on Will, for Joyce. One of my favorite parts of this season is when after Hopper wakes up from being drugged, he tears his place apart looking for wire traps. It's a great scene. Him dealing with the feelings of his daughter being gone, it's all really good. Joyce is a highlight too, with her looking more and more crazy for not giving up on Will, and even setting up this elaborate way to talk to Will with the little info that she has. She puts up lights, and people go, "Oh my gosh, she's losing her mind." What was it, Lonnie? Again, fuck Lonnie. She also deals with Lonnie and him trying to come back into her and Jonathan's life. But it's satisfying seeing her kick him out after finding out about his whole plan of making money off of Will's death. And for the final time of this video, fuck Lonnie. Another one. Another one.
Another one.
Other standout parts from Hopper and Joyce is when she looks at the fake body of Will, her being so adamant that it's not her boy. Really great acting, honestly, in that scene. If I'm being honest, I know this is not part of that I mentioned. Really great acting for that one. And later on, when Hopper cuts into it, as he is packed with cotton. I think it's cotton. The best part of this season is Hopper and Joyce, especially Hopper. At the end of this season, our groups come together. They help get the kids to safety from the government, and they plan to make a deprivation tank at the middle school, because they need a lot of salt. They even call, I think, they call it, Clark, which, we'll get him. Don't you worry. We've seen him a couple times. We'll talk about him, though. This is to help Eleven find Will and Barbara in the Upside Down. They go to the middle school, and they make it. You have a nice little moment between Joyce and Eleven, with Joyce being a little motherly to her, which makes sense after Joyce and Hopper visits Eleven's actual mother, seeing the state she's in. Eleven uses a homemade tank and finds Will at the upside down version of Castle Byers, a little fort him and Jonathan made. She also finds Barbara, who is sadly dead. Rip Barbara. This news hits Nancy hard. Joyce and Hopper leave for the lab to get to the gate, while Nancy and Jonathan decide to go to his house and try to lure the Demogorgon away from the Upside Down. Our group of kids are left at the school, while Nancy and Jonathan decide to go to his house and try to lure the Demogorgon away from the Upside Down, leaving our group of kids at the school. Joyce and Hopper are immediately fucking captured. Hopper gets tortured a little until he makes a deal of giving up 11 for the chance to get Will back and to keep the other kids safe. They agree and let two gear up to enter the Upside Down, totally thinking that they are just going to die from the Demogorgon. But the lab didn't know. The goddamn Nancy Wheeler is here. Back at the buyer's house, Nancy and Jonathan set up the trap, startling the Demogorgon to them with their blood. That is when Steve shows up and tries to make amends with Nancy. He is even worried about her since he sees her bleeding, but she pulls a gun on him and tells him to leave. Which Steve maybe isn't the most smart, but he's smart here because he starts leaving. That is until he sees lights flickering and goes back into the house where he saves Jonathan from the Demogorgon. The Demogorgon steps into the bear trap and gets lit on fire, injuring it before it flees back into the Upside Down. Back at the school, Mike kisses 11 after he tries confessing to her, which, slow down, Mike. You just met this heavily traumatized girl in the woods not too long ago. You're moving too fast for everything. They then see government agents arriving at the school. The kids are surrounded at the middle school, even with 11 murking a lot of them, which will come. Put that in your pocket. That's for later too, don't worry. Especially the bitch who killed my man, Benny. Rest in peace. They are still pretty much captured, and 11 is going to be taken away by Dr. Brenner. That is until the Demogorgon pops out, attracted by the blood of the dead lab agents, and proceeds to kill the remaining lab people, while the boys and 11 escape into a nearby classroom. Mike talks to a weak 11 about how they'll go to the snowball dance together, but they are attacked by the demo. 11 saves the boys by pinning the Demogorgon to the wall and disintegrating it, but she vanishes, seemingly dying in the process. Hopper and Joyce find Will, but he's not breathing. After performing CPR, they resuscitate him. Again, you got the great scene of Hopper thinking back to his daughter when doing this. Will wakes up in the hospital with Joyce and Jonathan with him, and everybody else is waiting outside. After it's proved, the boys all tell him about the events that happened while he was missing. Nancy is still sad about Barbara's death, and Hopper is seen getting into a car that drives off. On Christmas Day, the group of boys are back playing D&D, and Will kills the monster with a fireball. And the season ends with Hopper placing food in a small container. So, I really enjoyed season 1. I enjoyed it when I first watched it, and I really enjoyed it on the rewatch. I think it does a great job of everything flowing together, from the mystery of Will's disappearance to the kids and teenagers also dealing with their personal matters. Like teenagers dealing with the drama from romantic relationships to the kids dealing with being kind of social outcasts and finding out about things that a normal kid would know. There's a fucking fly. Fuck that fly. The mystery is great with the government hiding stuff to supernatural shit happening with the Demogorgon. Hopper is a very big highlight of this season, and he's probably my favorite character of this season. He's just so I feel like he's just done so well with the cop, stuff, and like his daughter and shit. We'll get into that one more, but my favorite episode of this season is probably the last episode. I like how everything just comes together with different groups falling. I like the bear sweetness that it has with getting Will back but losing 11 in the process. To give a ranking, I gotta say this for this whole season, it's 10 out of 10. Now, before I end this video, I want to kind of just lay out where our characters are at, since I'm going to be covering the other seasons as well. Going to be keeping track of their character arcs and the kind of themes and stuff that we're kind of seeing with shit. So, with the boys, as a group, we have them, they are kind of outcasts in a way they are nerds and not that popular. Mike specifically, we have him as the leader of this group. He cares very deeply about his friends, even ones that he just met, like with 11. But he gained a crush on her and he lost her. He's got his best bud Will back, but he lost, the girl he's gay into. My God, oh my God, guys, it's a new upside down creature. It's the demo fly. They're like demo bats, but worse, and you don't ever see them until fucking another spin-off or some bullshit. Will, he seems to be more of an outcast than like even his other friends. We have multiple characters talking about him being, different or alluding to him gay or even calling him gay outright. On the flip side of that, with that, you have so many people who are, working together to save him, and stuff. 11, we have this very traumatized girl who's been, a lab rat since, from her birth. She's a child soldier that's been studied in many ways, from all what she has, has had to endure. We see her gain friends that are willing to teach her all the things that that a normal kid would know. However, you have this guilt with 11 that she, is carrying because she opened the gate, and brought, misfortune to, these people that are not her friends, which she's even willing to sacrifice herself for them to be safe. With the teenagers, we have Nancy, a girl who's struggling with relationships. She doesn't want to be like her parents in a loveless marriage. She tried to find her best friend only to find her dead. And Jonathan is similar to Will with being an outcast, and he's having to juggle family stuff and then the disappearance of his younger brother while finding, something in common and maybe something more with Nancy. Steve is, trying to be a better person, even losing friends in the process. That's kind of what I gotta say for Steve. We'll get more of him later on, but that's where we're at with him. And with the adults, we have Joyce, who is struggling to make ends meet for her family, and is desperately trying to keep that family together, not giving hope for her child, and fighting tooth and nail to get him back, even when everybody else thinks she is crazy and delusional. And then we have Hopper, a sheriff that's been going through life on autopilot after his daughter's death, with drugs, heavily medicating, self-medicating. And he finally starts, to confront his trauma and is given the chance to save a child's life and make sure another person doesn't have to go through with what he went through. He does this in spite of the threat on his and others' life. That's the end of the video. This is part 1. The formatting stuff might change and stuff, but I'll be doing every season as their own video, so there'll be a total of 5. This hopefully to help keep videos not to be too long, but we'll see. This one might be on like the most short, because season 1 be going more into it, and more in depth, as we go further into the further seasons, and that is also why breaking it up to let me go hopefully a little bit more in depth than I would if I all had it in one and not feel the need to cut back on parts. I'm excited to cover the other season, and I hope you guys are too. I will not be talking about Tales from 85 unless one of these videos gets like 1,000 views and I gain like 1,000 subscribers. I don't think that will happen, so I think I'm safe. Hopefully. Everything I've heard about that spin-off sucks, and I would love not to have to watch it. But I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, leave a comment. Tell me what you liked or disliked about season 1. Also subscribe. Also subscribe because I'll be doing the other seasons soon. Also, quick shout out to my podcast, Mountain West Phenomenons. It's a podcast that me and my buddy Tristan are doing. We've been covering anything spooky to unexplained / unsolved. We're still in the process of finding our footing, but if you're interested and want to see more from me, I'll leave it in the description. Anyways, have a good day or night, and I will see you guys next time.